Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Eric, and today in our Fizban's Treasury of Dragons coverage, we're going to take a very deep dive into dragons and the Draconomicon. All right, so I wasn't going to do any more Fizban's videos for a little while, but I kept getting questions asking for information about the dragons, and we did a poll, and we had hundreds of responses, and it was like 93% saying, yes, we want these videos, and the comments were all dragons, dragons, dragons. Show us some stat blocks. How do we role play a dragon? So this is it. But before we go any further, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We have passed over 2,000 subscribers now. We've had some awesome growth. So thank you for all of you that are here. Also join us over on Discord at discord.gg/FryMinis and come talk to us and get all the inside scoops on what we've got going on. And of course, thank you to our patrons, the Spud Club. Your continuing support has just been absolutely crucial in keeping FryMinis going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And for everybody else, if you want to consider supporting the channel, head on over to patreon.com/FryMinis and check out some of our cool perks and maybe support the channel. And if you haven't seen our other Fizban's coverage, we've got one big playlist with everything in there. Links for everything we just talked about in the description. So overall, this book has been fantastic. Most of the player options have been great. I've had a few grumbles. I wish we had some more class options. I wish there were a couple more items, but generally speaking, very, very happy. Now this video is going to definitely be more for the DM. So we're going to take a look at the sections that talk to us about how to create a dragon that has like a personality, how to role play that dragon, how to give it some personality traits, how to give it spell casting, and then we're even going to take a look at some stat blocks. So for every single kind of dragon, there is a whole section. There's like they've got like a template of all the different things that they teach us about dragons. And so I'm not going to show you every single one because otherwise that would be a 6-hour video. And I like to leave a little mystery for the book, right? So we're going to take a look at the Topaz Dragon. So this is one of the new gem type dragons. It's a chaotic neutral dragon, which I think is really interesting. So we're going to go through all of those different blocks of information, including the stat blocks, all the way up from Wormling all the way to Great Worm for the gem dragons. So I hope that sounds cool. Stick around. This is going to be a long one. We have a lot of information to cover. And also, if you wanted to learn about playing Topaz Dragonborn, check out the video we've got in the playlist for Gem Dragonborn player options. Okay, so when I said they have information for every single kind of dragon, I wasn't kidding. Amethyst dragons, black dragons, blue dragons, brass, bronze, copper, crystal, deep, dragon turtle, emerald dragons, fairy dragons, gold, green, moonstone, red, sapphire, shadow, silver, topaz, and white. So every single one of these has all the information we're going to cover in this book. It is a meaty, hearty section. I'm really impressed with this. So the new dragons here, the gem dragons, they already innately have magic, spellcasting abilities. But if we were to take a look at the red dragons, for example, which don't already have spellcasting abilities, that's one thing that we won't see here in the Topaz dragons. But in the other version, the older dragons, there are tables to give them spells. All right, so first we're going to walk through creating a Topaz Dragon. And so this will include personality traits. Creating a Topaz Dragon. Use the Topaz Dragon personality traits in Topaz Dragon's ideals table to inspire your portrayal of distinctive Topaz Dragon characters. The Topaz Dragon personality traits table is a D8. 1. I seek no company other than my own, for no one else can compete with me. 2. If my offspring don't care for themselves, I'm not sure they're worthy of my attention. 3. The sea is beautiful, and I love gazing upon it, but I abhor being wet. 4. Why should I risk damaging my splendid physique when I can fight with the power of my mind? 5. I am predictable only in my unpredictability. 6. It takes true artistry to maintain a warm, desert-like dwelling under the water. 7. I soothe myself to sleep by imagining the perfect insults for bronze dragons. While I wait to meet one, I hone them on other creatures. 8. I secretly enjoy conversing with lesser beings, although I usually do so only to find their weaknesses. I think these are fun. I didn't know a lot about Topaz Dragons before this whole section, but I like that they're kind of sassy, kind of snarky, kind of out for themselves, but not evil. I think it's fun. The Topaz Dragon's ideals table is a D6. 1. Solitude. My own company obviates the need for others in my life, whether they are dragons or lesser creatures. And that's good for any alignment. 2. Change. Consistency is stagnation. Chaotic. 3. Mental superiority. I hone my mental power so I can confuse, control, or kill anyone who annoys me. Evil. 4. Territoriality. Any creature that comes into my territory has forfeited its right to be upset by anything I do to it. Evil. 5. Wonder. Though I don't wish to spend time in it, my soul sings at the sight of the vast beauty of the ocean. Good. 6. Code of combat. I despise most other dragons, but I meet them face to face without resorting to the base trickery I use on lesser creatures. Lawful. I think my favorite there is that last one, that code of just viewing other dragons as equals, whereas everything else just doesn't matter. So the rules are kind of out the window. I think Topaz Dragons here are really interesting. They're definitely a different feel for a dragon. Okay, so now we're going to get some ideas on how to create a Topaz Dragon based adventure. The Topaz Dragon Adventure Hooks table offers suggestions for stories and adventures involving Topaz Dragons. The Topaz Dragons Adventure Hooks table is a D8. 1. A pirate ship is found floating on the open sea. The bodies of the crew completely desiccated. The only clue to what happened is a single Topaz Dragon scale on the deck. 2. A Topaz Dragon has claimed a stretch of coastline and ordered the residents of a seaside town to vacate the area or suffer the dragon's wrath. 3. A fishery that specializes in a type of eel favored by a local Topaz Dragon is haunted, and shipments of the eel vanish every time the ghost appears. 4. Legends claim that a gauntlet imbued with divine power rests in a temple beneath the waves. Unfortunately, that temple is now the lair of an especially tricky Topaz Dragon. 5. A Topaz Dragon is injured and stranded far from the sea, but the dragon is too proud to ask for help getting home. 6. A Topaz Dragon is building a tableau of desiccated creatures and has grown obsessed with catching one treasure hunter who escaped at the dragon's clutches. 7. A Topaz Dragon has developed a taste for merfolk, and the merfolk community near the dragon's lair is desperate for help. 8. A Topaz Dragon is intent on destroying the homes of all intelligent creatures in the dragon's territory, and desperate locals seek to find out who's behind the dragon's wrath. For me, at least, this builds a really great picture of the Topaz Dragon as a dragon, and honestly, kind of what I would expect more from a dragon, about just not caring about lesser creatures, about humanoids. It's just not a concern. Like, if I'm going to take over this town, this whole coast area, great, I'll give you a chance to get out, but if you don't, too bad. I think that's like not regal, like a red dragon who thinks it's like the boss, but just like you just don't matter. Like, kind of like that scene from Mad Men in the elevator. I was like, I don't even think about you. Don Draper, Topaz Dragon. Now, this next section is really interesting. This is connected creatures. So this is a way to tie other, at least maybe potentially powerful creatures to this kind of a dragon, to build relationships. So it's not just a dragon in a vacuum, but how a dragon might interact with its area. Topaz Dragons rarely tolerate any company but their own, and they are usually indifferent at best, even toward their own kind. Moreover, their unpredictability means that even if a creature proves itself useful to a Topaz Dragon, it shouldn't count on being safe from the dragon the next time they meet. Topaz Dragons rarely go out of their way to fight other creatures, however, with the exception of Bronze Dragons, for whom they bear an inexplicably intense hatred. Yeah, that indifference, I think that's really a good take on dragons. Okay, so now we have those connection tables for every kind, every like age bracket of a dragon. Up first, we have the Topaz Dragon Wormling connections table, which is D6. 1. Moved by pity, a giant eagle continues bringing food to an abandoned Topaz Dragon Wormling, despite the Wormling's attempts to eat the eagle. 2. A pseudo-dragon who is fanatical about the kinship of all dragon kind is trying to win Topaz Dragon Wormling's friendship. 3. A Topaz Dragon Wormling has developed a taste for crab meat and persistently hunts a giant crab that always manages to evade the wormling. The crab might have been the recipient of a druid's awaken spell. 4. A mated pair of griffins found a topaz dragon egg and they care for it as if it were their own. 5. A sea hag is on the hunt for a topaz dragon wormling to be used as a component in a fell ritual. 6. A pirate crew keeps a curmudgeonly topaz dragon wormling as a beloved mascot. Okay, so those are all good, but pirates keeping a dragon wormling as a mascot, that wins. No contest. Okay, the young topaz dragon table is up next, and this is also a d6. A young topaz dragon engages in repeated aerial battles with a young gynosphinx to determine territory. Both of them are secretly starting to enjoy the bouts. 2. A young topaz dragon found and ate a dead sahuagin on the beach, unwittingly incurring the wrath of the sahuagin's community. 3. A flock of harpies enjoy taunting a young topaz dragon who has moved into their territory. The dragon adds a feather to a necklace for each harpy slain. 4. A curious water elemental supplies a young topaz dragon with aquatic delicacies so as to learn more about the dragon. 5. A young topaz dragon continually attempts to steal eggs from a rock nest, despite having nearly been killed by the rock parents multiple times. 6. A clan of winged kobolds consider a young topaz dragon their monarch, despite the dragon's complete lack of interest and growing annoyance toward them. Okay, same deal. All great options, but kobolds praising this dragon as a matriarch and the dragon just not caring at all is the most koboldy thing I've ever heard. Okay, so the adult topaz dragon connections table is a d8. 1. An adult topaz dragon vies with a storm giant over territory. The giant keeps live seafood in a tide pool, and the dragon keeps drying out the pool in an effort to drive the giant away. 2. An adult topaz dragon and an adult bronze dragon are finding their centuries-old enmity turning into a more romantic passion. 3. A djinn hopes to convince a topaz dragon to tolerate the djinn's presence by driving off a clan of cyclopses harassing the dragon. 4. Reunited after years apart, an adult topaz dragon parent and young dragon child realize they enjoy hunting together. 5. A tempestuous Merid continually floods the carefully dried out lair of a topaz dragon. 6. A sahuagin baron attempts to gain the support of other sahuagin for driving away a topaz dragon attempting to claim the sea devil's territory. 7. A pirate captain tells stories of an adult topaz dragon's legendary hoard while attempting to gather a crew to raid the dragon's lair. 8. A shipwreck near an adult topaz dragon's lair. The dragon claims what's left of the cargo and tries to ransom the survivors, including the dragonborn ship captain, back to the city they came from. The trend continues. They're all good, but the last one, I didn't even know that a dragon would ransom things. That's news to me, but I think it's awesome. And now our ancient topaz dragon connections table. This one is just a d4. 1. An ancient topaz dragon has decided to set local ogre and bandit clans against one another, hoping they wipe each other out. 2. An adult bronze dragon has ignored the petitions of townsfolk to deal with an ancient topaz dragon, killing livestock and farmers alike. But now the topaz dragon has killed the bronze dragon's child. 3. An ancient topaz dragon's lair contains a portal to the elemental chaos. 4. An ancient bronze dragon and an ancient topaz dragon are locked in an ongoing conflict that threatens shipping and caravans around a major city. Those are all good. I don't love any of those ones. I'm going to say that's the weakest, but it's also probably the most likely to not be used. So again, this book has all those tables for every single kind of dragon. So now we're going to take a look at lairs. There's tons of information about lairs, including maps. Now, some of the kind of less important dragons, like the shadow dragons, they don't have their own maps. You're referred to other maps to use, but all the main metallic, chromatic, and gem dragons, they all have their own maps. Topaz dragons are happiest by the sea. They spend most of their time basking in the sun and have no desire to get wet, beyond enjoying a bit of sea spray in the air. But they love being able to see the water, so they build their lairs on the heights of seaside cliffs or near perfect sunbathing beaches where they can best accomplish this. Their preference for lair sites frequently brings topaz dragons into conflict with other creatures, since they resent having to share their chosen scenic locations with anything that isn't food. They often abandon lairs to seek new vistas, so the interiors of their lairs often feel less finished than those of other dragons. Topaz dragons decorate their lairs with mirrors to make them look bigger and brighter, as well as fabric and objects in golden shades that complement their scales. They obsessively organize their hoards, but almost never show them to anyone else. I kind of feel like Topaz Dragon is calling me out a little bit. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm constantly reorganizing my office and changing things, and never quite satisfied or settled. So I can appreciate it. Topaz Dragon lair features. The Topaz Dragon lair is situated among the rocky cliffs and beaches of a rugged coastline. The lair is set in a cavern complex near the top of the cliffs, 50 feet above the sandy beaches, outcroppings, and islands below. It has the following features. Outcropping. A flat outcropping with sheer limestone sides, mostly bare, offers a comfortable spot where the dragon can bask in the sunlight and watch the waves below. Entry tunnel. A long tunnel leads from the outcropping to the heart of the lair. Decorated caverns. The walls of the lair are mostly still in their natural state, but are hung with the dragon's collection of nautical paintings, mirrors, and sun-colored tapestries. Numerous gold and glass hanging lanterns are suspended from the ceiling, giving the place a warm, cozy glow. The lanterns might be magical or maintained by minions. The floors are covered with plush, sand-colored carpets. Hoard chamber. A small chamber in the upper left corner of the map contains the dragon's hoard. This area is decorated in a similar fashion to the main chamber, and its collected jewels and gold are painstakingly organized and tucked into chests stacked on gold-chased shelves. Clifftop path. A second exit from the cave allows the dragon quick access to the lair and leads to a narrow path bordered on the right by a sheer 50-foot drop and on the left of a cliff wall, just as steep and devoid of handholds or footholds. The dragon has festooned this path with tripwire alarms and minor booby traps. Islands. 3 small islands jut from the water below the outcropping. The largest features cliffs that rise steeply to a plateau 40 feet above the sea level. The dragon sometimes basks here as well, and it takes many meals atop the plateau. And the map itself looks great. It's very clear. It's easy to understand. Those descriptions are very helpful. I like these kind of Dyson Logos maps where they're not fully fleshed out with details and pictures and things like that. This way you can kind of tweak it to whatever you need. One suggestion earlier in this chapter is that scaling the map for the different kinds of dragon. So on the map itself, it's 1 square is 10 feet, but it suggests maybe if you're looking at a wormling, each square becomes 5 feet, up to, like, if you're doing ancient, maybe each square is 20 feet or something like that. And that gives you a little bit of flexibility with the map. I think it's great. I can't believe that every single thing here is covered. And we have full sections. I mean, that's a whole little mini dungeon just right there. And there are 20 of them or whatever. It's great. Okay, so now that we have a lair, we need to fill it up with some loot. Topaz dragons despise anything made of bronze, but love to hoard gold, as well as yellow and orange gems that coordinate with their scales. They also favor treasures with a nautical theme, images of the sun, and mirrors, which they use to gaze at their own reflections and to redirect sunlight into their caves. Topaz dragons like to keep their lairs well lit and can spend endless hours watching the play of light upon their treasures. They sometimes obsessively arrange their hoards by minute gradations in color and set up mirrors around a hoard chamber to make the massive treasure appear bigger. But whatever pride Topaz dragons take in their hoard, they have little desire to show it off. So even those rare creatures who could maintain cordial relationships with a Topaz dragon are unlikely to ever see the dragon's treasures. So also in the book, there's a whole section about dragon hoards with like how much gold to calculate, and magic items, including items that scale based on the kind of how long they've been in the hoard of the dragon. All cool stuff. We've got videos for most of that in the playlist. But now we're going to take a look at art and specific kind of cosmetic, I guess we can call them cosmetic items for Topaz dragons. The Topaz dragon art objects table is a D8. 1. An ornate statue of a sea serpent that plays ocean sounds when its gemstone's eyes are pressed. 2, a set of 7 levered brass mirrors that can be adjusted to direct sunlight in a different direction. 3, a stained glass window depicting a golden city whose buildings are decorated with statues of dragons and other winged creatures. 4, a gold scrying bowl that shows random, constantly shifting views of the elemental chaos. 5, a 10-foot tall statue of the dragon carved out of a single massive yellow crystal. The dragon thinks it's flattering, except for the tail. 6, a large, shallow dish filled with water on which floats a set of delicate wooden ships. Speaking different command words creates waves and whirlpools in the bowl. 7, a large spherical gold chandelier that gives off sunlight and is surrounded by an intricate and interlocking set of glass bands engraved in an unknown language. 8, a set of topaz inlaid gold claw rings engraved with the names of bronze dragons the Topaz Dragon has killed. Very cool. I like those a lot. It's easy when you have to do treasure to just say, oh, okay, you roll 10d6 gold or whatever. Or, okay, yeah, you find 600 gold diamonds or something. This way you're getting a little bit of flavor with these items. It would be okay with me if these had kind of suggested gold values assigned to them, but by not having it, I've got the flexibility to make it whatever I want. So that works too. And last thing in this particular section, we have a call out for a Topaz Dragon Great Worm, Astilibor. Like many great worms, the Topaz Astilibor is often mistakenly identified as a dragon god. In this case, the god of greed. In many ways, she is an archetype for all dragon kind, embodying the desire to acquire and hoard wealth. Her desire is born not of greed, though, but rather of her study of the material plane, its magic, and dragons' interconnections with both. Dragons on many worlds acknowledge Astilibor as they establish new lairs to host their hordes, linking them to the magic of their surrounding regions. It's not a lot of info, but each of these kind of dragons, they all have these callouts. So you build almost like a pantheon of dragons, of special, incredibly powerful dragons that you might name drop or have different dragons revere or something like that. Or maybe have as a dragon patron for warlock wizards. Yep. Okay, so now we have a great idea of how to look at a dragon's or Topaz Dragon's lair, a little bit about their personality, kind of what their game plan is, what their motivations are. So now if we flip all the way back into the end of the book at the bestiary, we're going to take a look at the Topaz Dragons in their stat block area. Topaz Dragons. Decay and despair are bound up in the nature of Topaz Dragons thanks to the necrotic energy of the negative plane that suffuses them. Their psionic power manifests the fundamental entropic principle that mortal beings and their creations are ultimately doomed to death and decomposition, and the dragon's demeanor is typically morbid and curmudgeonly as a result. And that totally explains why these dragons just don't care about you. Well, they'll talk to other dragons. You're not worth their time, because they just see that you grow and then you're gonna rot. So I can't blame them. Gleaming gold. Upon hatching, Topaz Dragon wormlings' scales are dull yellow-orange and have a cloudy or filmy look. As they age, their scales harden and clarify, becoming translucent and faceted, and ranging from bright yellow to rich amber in color. Their bodies are wider at the haunches, tapering in a wedge shape towards the head, and their wings are shaped to propel them through both air and water. A Topaz Dragon's psionic power manifests visibly in the gem-like spines that run in a ridge from the crown of the head to the tip of the tail. These spines hover above a living Topaz Dragon's back, dancing and shifting with the dragon's mood. That's one thing I really like about these gem dragons is they just have like these floating parts. And if you don't know about their psionics, they're like telepathy and telekinesis kind of stuff. It might just kind of look like a Pokemon kind of thing. But knowing that their bodies are just like radiating this mental power and that's how it shows up physically, I think very, very cool. Embodiment of decay. While generally not malicious, Topaz Dragons embody decay. They view destruction as a natural means of clearing the way for new creation and growth, much as a forest fire clears dead wood, replenishes the soil, and allows the forest to regrow even healthier than before. To this end, Topaz Dragons use their power to reduce crumbling structures and diseased plants to dust, clearing the way for new growth and construction. Despite being competent swimmers and making their lairs on seacoasts and in brackish marshes, Topaz Dragons hate the water. Unfortunately, their favorite food is giant squid, so these dragons have ample opportunity to complain bitterly about being wet after diving deep into the ocean in search of prey. Topaz Dragons often come into conflict with Bronze Dragons when their coastal territories overlap, and they can nurture an inexplicably intense hatred of these metallic dragons. They can also draw the ire of druids and other nature protectors who don't understand the dragon's proclivity for destroying large swaths of countryside. Beyond that, Topaz Dragons dislike company and grow irritated when disturbed. But anyone who can endure the abrasive demeanor, caustic observations, and morbid interest can form a lasting bond with a powerful ally. Yeah, that's so interesting to me. Just like rot dragons. Like I would normally think of a black dragon as kind of like that disease rot thing, but here it's kind of flipped around. And as we've already learned, a lot of their things involve desiccation, so like sucking the moisture out of stuff. I think it's really interesting. I'm a big fan of Topaz Dragons. Entropic Hoards. Topaz Dragons prize information on destruction and creation, whether abstract or dedicated to practical applications. They are fascinated by magic that creates objects from nothing, animates undead, destroys matter, or manipulates negative energy, and they are particularly intrigued by undead, sometimes keeping them in their hoards as curios. See, I like this even more. It's kind of like that Spore Druid now, right? Where we're using undead, but it's not evil necromancer kind of undead. That's just part of what it is. I like it. A Topaz Dragon's lair. Topaz Dragons dwell where the sea meets the land, favoring sites where the constant action of the waves and tides is slowly reducing the land to gravel. They make their lairs in caves set into sea cliffs or beneath salt marshes where freshwater and seawater mingle, constantly grappling with their dislike of water to use flooded tunnels as secure entrances into their homes. They keep the interior chambers of their lairs meticulously dry. The challenge rating of a legendary Topaz Dragon increases by 1 when it's encountered in his lair. I feel like this is a little bit like if you have a very clean house and then there's like a puppy that's always running in with muddy feet, and like you can't get rid of that puppy, but ooh, you hate that mud. Lair actions. On initiative count 20, losing initiative ties, the dragon can take one of the following lair actions. The dragon can't take the same lair action 2 rounds in a row. Beguiling Whisper. The dragon telepathically whispers to one creature within range of the dragon's telepathy. The dragon must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or be charmed by the dragon until initiative count 20 on the next round. A creature charmed in this way obeys to the best of its ability any command the dragon issues that isn't directly harmful to the creature. Cancellation. The dragon chooses an active spell of 5th level or lower that it's aware of in its lair and ends the spell. Negative energy infusion. Up to 2 creatures the dragon can see within the lair must each succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or take 14 4d6 necrotic damage. Negative energy then infuses the lair until initiative count 20 on the next round. While the infusion lasts, creatures in the lair other than the dragon can't regain hit points. Those are all excellent. A little damage, but that healing stopper, that's tough. Controlling charm effect, that's good, but it's pretty easy to get some sort of advantage or something against charm, but still, that's great. But that cancellation, just ending a 5th level spell or lower, that's awesome. Regional effects. The region surrounding a legendary Topaz Dragon's lair is altered by the dragon's magic, creating one or more of the following effects. Crystal profusion. Natural stones within 6 miles of the lair grows plentiful crystal formations and veins of topaz gemstones, particularly underground. Negative energy. When a creature finishes a long rest within 6 miles of the lair, the creature must first succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be unable to reduce its levels of exhaustion or regain spent hit dice. Creatures resistant or immune to necrotic damage are immune to this regional effect. Thriving wildlife. Giant squid are attracted to the sea within 6 miles of the lair, migrating and hunting there in large numbers. Watery sight. Water within 6 miles of the lair is conduit for the dragon's psionic presence. As an action, the dragon can cast the clairvoyance spell, requiring no spell components and targeting any body of water in that region. If the dragon dies, the population of giant squid in the region returns to its normal levels over the course of 1d10 days. The existing abundance of crystals and topaz remains, but new ones form at a normal rate. I'm a big fan of regional effects. It's just so, it's so environmental, so atmospheric when the party goes somewhere and there's like this powerful presence, like the dragon. Easy common one is like if there's a red dragon and there's like lava and burnt out plants and trees everywhere. Okay, there's a red dragon. But here having crystals shoot out everywhere. You can't get a full rest. I mean, really, lots of really cool effects here. Okay, so now let's take a look at the actual stat blocks for Topaz Dragons. I'm not going to go in detail over every single stat here, but let's take a look. The Topaz Dragon Wormling. So right off the bat, 2 damage resistances on a CR2 creature is interesting. Desiccating Breath. This is the thing we're going to see over and over here. Recharges 5/6. The dragon exhales yellowish necrotic energy in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw. Of course, that will scale for the other types. On a failed save, the creature takes 66 necrotic damage and is weakened until the end of its next turn. A weakened creature has disadvantage on strength-based ability checks and strength saving throws, and the creature's weapon attacks that rely on strength deal half damage. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't weakened. Okay, so that's pretty solid. I mean, CR2, we're not high level, and we're getting blasted out with 66 on a 50% recharge rate with some really rough anti-melee abilities here. And we have some psionics. Once per day, we can cast Bane. I mean, dragons are supposed to be tough, and I like to run a tough dragon. If you're running a dragon that just comes out and sits there and stands there and just attacks and bites and that's it, you're not really running that dragon even anywhere near its potential. And if that's what you want to do, of course, that's fine. But this is pretty tough. Okay, so young Topaz Dragon. We're increasing everything, of course. We now have multi-attack with a bite and a claw. 2 claw attacks, actually. And our Desiccating Breath increases to a 30-foot cone, all the way up to full fireball strength, 8d6 with the DC 13 con save. And our psionics also increase. We can do Bane and create or destroy water. And note, all of these are using the typically chaotic neutral language. Okay, now we're going to get into the big dogs, starting with adult. I'll tell you, I was expecting to see damage immunity at this point, but no. Okay. We have a new ability, Fabricate. Once per day, the dragon can cast Fabricate with no components. So leaning into that, they like to create stuff, so that's fun. We've got our legendary resistances now. Desiccating Breath is now a 60-foot cone, DC 17 for 10d6. The area on that is a lot. Our psionics, we've added Control Water, so that's fun. We also have bonus actions, Change Shape. We can transform into any creature, medium or small. Wow, okay. And we also get Psychic Step. The dragon magically teleports to an unoccupied space it can see within 60 feet. so unlimited Misty Step's always good. And of course, we have our legendary actions. So we have 3 of them. Claw, make a claw attack. Psionics cost 2. You can use Psychic Step or spell casting. And Essential Reduction costs 3. The dragon targets a creature or an object not being worn or carried that it can see within 60 feet of it. The target makes a DC 17 con save or takes 8d6 necrotic. If the damage reduces the target to 0, it crumbles to dust. Okay. Not kidding around. Very tough dragon. Huge jump from the young version too. Ancient Topaz. Still only resistances. Okay. We're still fabricating. We still have 3 legendary resistances. Our bite and claws are tough. Desiccating breath is up to a 90-foot cone at a DC 20 save for 4d6 necrotic. So 49 average. Wow. And our spell casting, anti-life shell is added to Bane, control water, and create or destroy water. And our legendary actions are remaining the same, but essential reduction has been boosted up to 9d8 necrotic with the DC 19 con save. Somebody let me know why the desiccating breath is DC 20, but everything else is DC 19. But yeah, ancient dragons of all kinds are always going to be just total monsters, and this one does not let us down. But we're going to now switch over to the new and terrifying Great Worm. Also, does it look like these wings are on backwards? All the art for the Topaz Dragon features this wing setup, and just having the bone muscle in the back of the wing just makes it, it's just weird to me. I mean, the art I think is really cool, but I just don't know how that would work. All right, the Gem Great Worm. More so even than their chromatic or metallic kin, gem dragons are fascinated with cultivating their dragon sight and fusing the awareness of their echoes across the material plane. Some of them believe that by doing so, they are taking steps towards reuniting the shattered consciousness of Sardior, the ruby dragon, and they pursue this awakening as an act of near religious devotion. Others seek to exploit their knowledge of the many worlds of the material plane as a source of power. And indeed, a gem dragon who becomes a great worm has access to almost unimaginable power. Gem great worms' ascension transforms their bodies to appear as crystals, their scales sparkling like diamonds, their breath weapons becoming powerful waves of crushing force that can stop almost any creature in its tracks. But the great worm's most powerful ability is telekinesis on an unparalleled scale. A gem great worm can telekinetically seize an entire crowd and carry those helpless folk off to the dragon's lair. And we also have a little bonus box here. Sardior's Great Worms. 5 gem Great Worms call themselves the Thanes of Sardior and believe themselves responsible for preserving the memory of the long-lost progenitor. These Great Worms are named Alithilothiolos, an Amethyst Great Worm, Rodel, a Crystal Great Worm, Smargad, an Emerald Great Worm, Charisma, a Sapphire Great Worm, and Tithonus, a Topaz Great Worm. Each Thane is actively seeking out their echoes across the worlds of the material plane, hoping to merge with these other dragons, with the goal of eventually uniting themselves to reform the Great Ruby Dragon. Sorry about that. I am not good at pronouncing dragon names. Okay, let's look at this just full page, huge stat block. 507 hit points, 21 AC. Stats that are just absurd. Keeping with Topaz, we finally have our necrotic immunity, but we've lost our cold resistance. Strange. We're immune to most conditions here. 120 feet of true sight. CR 26. Gem Awakening, once per short or long rest. The Great Worm would be reduced to 0 hit points. Its current hit point instead resets to 400. It recharges its breath weapon and regains any expended uses of legendary resistance. Additionally, the Great Worm can now use its mass telekinesis action during the next hour. Award a party an additional 90,000 XP for defeating the Great Worm after its Gem Awakening activities. So this gives us those mythic actions kind of things from Theros. I love this idea of a mechanic for like round 2. Bringing us to a functional 900 hit points, 4 legendary resistances per day, and it doesn't need to eat or drink. Great. I guess I wasn't concerned about that, but the idea of trying to feed this could become a story point, if not otherwise. Our multi-attack, it's still 1 bite and 2 claw attacks, but that's the bite's 36 damage, and that claw, oh geez, the claw 18 slashing damage. If it's huge or smaller, it's auto grappled. So this is one of those things where it's It's kind of funny, right? Like on the picture, it shows this great worm is almost as big as a city, but then it has a 10-foot reach. I don't know about that. And our breath weapon is just absurd. A 300-foot cone. So this is how we are just destroying cities on a 50% recharge. DC 25 dex save, or take 11 D12 force damage and get knocked prone. Just brutal. And mass telekinesis. So this is the secret sauce here. The Great Worm targets any number of creatures and objects you can see within 120 feet. No target can weigh more than 4,000 pounds, and it can't be worn or carried. Everybody makes a DC 26 strength save, or you are restrained. You can repeat at the end of your turn. And then you can be moved 60 feet in any direction. In addition, you can choose any number of creatures restrained and just deal 7 D12 force damage to them. Yeah, that's rough. That's so cool though. And of course we have some psionics. We have Dispel Magic, Forced Cage, Plane Shift, Reverse Gravity, and Time Stop. I do kind of wish that it also said plus any other psionics from your type. So like we would add in those Topaz spells. I think would be nice, but that's fine. We still have our Change Shape. We still have our Psychic Step, our legendary actions. We have a Claw. We have our psionics. And a new Psychic Beam, costs 3. Great Worm emits a beam of psychic energy in a 90-foot line, 10 feet wide. Everybody makes a DC 26 intelligence saving throw, or takes 5d10 psychic damage. So this is a Psychic Godzilla. Gem Great Worm. Wow. All these dragons. This whole, from that Topaz Wormling all the way up to this mythic Great Worm. Very great, very good options, very strong, they all have fun and special mechanics. I like it a lot. Okay, so I told you this is going to be a deep dive video. So we have gone all the way from our little wormling to Great Worm. We have abilities on or information on how to create personalities for these dragons. We have information on how to create their lairs, how to run those lairs, layer effects. I think this book is good, but the information in this section is just so good for DMs on how to flesh out a dragon. So it's not just, oh, here's a stat block that's particularly strong. It's, here is a legendary creature worthy of the game itself being named after it. So I'm absolutely thrilled with this. I hope you are too. And if you're still here, hats off to you. Thank you for sticking around. This might be my longest non-live stream ever, but we'll see. Okay, so book comes out real soon. If it hasn't already, depending on when you're watching this, let me know in the comments what you think of this book, what you think of dragons, what you think overall. And as just a little capstone here, yes, I would recommend this book definitely to DMs. For players, it's good, but most of the book is DM type stuff. So maybe if you're playing on D&D Beyond, maybe buy the individual dragon pieces that you're interested in, whether it's the races or the items or whatever. But you can still pick it up. Okay, that has been Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Now we just need to wait for Strixhaven to come out. Someday I'll sleep. Bye. Thanks for watching.